Motivation's fuel. And you run out, and you have to refuel.
I had to tell myself multiple times in the last several weeks, I said, you have to give yourself that grace to be okay in a lull. Oh, on next episode, I'm going to bring my cat lady mug.
Oh, I thought you were going to bring your cat.
No.
I got very excited. I was listening to, there's a guy and he just does a YouTube video and then just does singing bowls, and it's very nice. And sometimes I play the music before the meditation group, and then I just left it going after. And all of a sudden, out of the corner of my eye, I saw something across the screen, and it was a cat. His cat, I assume, I don't know. But the cat just came and sat down right in front of the camera to watch the guy also do. And I'm like, am I hanging out with this cat now? And we're both watching this dude do his singing bowls. And then it was very cute. The cat decided it wanted to go and sit in his lap and snuggle while he's doing the bowls. It was very adorable. I never watch it. I always just listen to it, but I happened to see it. And I was like, aw, this is cute.
I am ashamed to admit that videos like that are 90% of our YouTube viewing and my family home, because cat videos apparently are the reason why the internet exists.
Well, I think pornography was the initial plan, but the cat videos really came in strong after that.
Yeah, much more family friendly.
It's a lot more family friendly.
Okay, today's episode of Stories, Success, and Stuff. We're not talking about cat videos. We're talking about motivation. I'm Kristelle Siarza Moon. On the last podcast, I forgot my last name.
Don't take it personally, Spencer. She's talked about it all day otherwise.
This is my colleague that does not forget her last name, and she's the co-hostess with the mostest, Jace Downey. Today we're exploring motivation. Motivation and its impacts of the motivation in the middle. On track, I'm fine is something that I say to make sure that you know that I'm motivated, but I also am stuck somewhere. We love topics that are the serious ones, the ones that are really nitty gritty. But this one, of course, is something very relevant. Breaking news: Kristelle Siarza Moon has somehow lost her motivation.
Oh, is this real, or you're just is it a gimmick we're doing for the show?
Very real.
Is it? I was like, should I have come with a gimmick?
When does this show become a gimmick?
Are we doing this now? Should I have come with it? I wasn't ready.
Yes.
You've lost your motivation? Yeah. Good. Great. That's very relevant. Thank you for doing that for the show, which I assume is what you're doing because you're very dedicated. So you went ahead and lost your motivation so we could talk about it today.
No. It's a real thing. I say that because our process, right, for the show is we sit down, we say, okay, what topics are we talking about today? What are our key takeaways? What are the stories? And in preparation for today's podcast, I actually had to talk to a leadership trainer that has come in, Janice Honeycutt, which I dearly recommend for any person, any CEO that's working.
It's a very cool name.
To better her team. Yes, Janice Honeycutt Herring. And I, sitting at Monroe's, just about 15 minutes of a walk away, probably less, from the office, and I said, hey, Janice, I lost my motivation. She goes, what do you mean? I said, I have always been known as being an incredibly driven individual. I put my mind to it and I do it. And I know that there have been a lot of defeating moments in my leadership recently that have been humbling moments in decision making that I've made. That when it came to those decision making moments, rather than jumping into the next project, I put a lot of things on hold, or the project is completed and I'm just kind of waiting for the time to pass, for the timing to be right to restart it again. And there's a couple of other things. So this is going to be a long one. So I was even sitting and talking to Janice and I said, I did actually not commit to a lot of things because my husband and I were fixing to get married, and I didn't want to be emotionally unavailable for the start of our new relationship as husband and wife. So I didn't want to be working so badly where I didn't enjoy anything. And my family being so involved with wedding and all this stuff that I just didn't feel that it was right to continue with new projects. So the wedding happened September 8th. Today is October 3rd. Lost my motivation. And I'm asking myself, what the hell am I doing? And even my motivation for wanting to get married with Spencer and like telling him I want to move forward in our relationship is because I wanted to move on to the next step, which was buying a house, planning our financial future, planning a retirement. We already said no kids, right? Because we have our one and only, who's the stinkiest, best 15-year-old you could ever have. But I don't have any. We're serious. I'm seriously at a point where I told Janice, I said, I lost my motivation. I'm terrified to tell my team because I don't want them to lose their motivation for why they're working. I love my nonprofit, but there's a little bit of rebuilding that we have to do. And it's not my nonprofit. It's the community's nonprofit. And I said, I also want to make sure that we're successful as a team, but I also have gone through pretty much, there's some surprises here and there. I've gone through pretty much every rough scenario you could possibly achieve as a business owner, and I know the solutions, or I know where to find the answer. So where's my motivation? I don't know what to do because I don't know where to find it anymore. And she goes, oh, that's normal. Yeah. And so that's why I thought this podcast is really potentially good for myself and also for our listeners. We see these really successful business owners from 20 to 30 to 40 years in business, families with 40 years in business. And it's hard to see how they haven't lost their motivation. I'll tell you this. The good thing is that the people that we have here, Jace, Julia, Justin, Danielle, everybody, Marissa, Amy, everybody that we have here, they keep me motivated once I walk through the doors. When I get here, I feel that instant joy of being here. I don't have to worry about the people that I work around. I really enjoy, and they bring me back to where my center core is. But when I'm at home, I'm going, what do I do next? So, have you ever run into that?
Yes.
All of the things.
All of that. And so has everyone else. Those people that have been in business 40 years, how did they not lose their motivation? Girl, they did. Guaranteed. It's like you just mentioned marriage, right? And you guys are newly married, but you've been together for many years. You've done a lot of life together. Has every single moment been glorious, and you look at him and he's an Adonis and you're like, oh, and he breathed today and everything was amazing? No, there are times where you're struggling through. You're just getting stuff done together, right? It's like the day-to-day. That's part of life. And it's part of work. It's part of business. And
you mean the honeymoon phase actually goes away?
But then it comes back, right? If we work for it.
Yeah.
So motivation comes for free. Right? Whether this is a relationship and you just think the world of each other and everything's amazing, it comes for free.
He's so pretty.
Oh my God, but he breathed. Did you guys hear how he breathes? It's just so amazing. Or we come into a new project. I love new projects. I've started so many things in my life. Now when I tell my family about a new project, they're like, oh, okay, that sounds neat. We're not getting attached until, a year down the line when you're still doing that thing or whatever. I love new stuff because that rush of excitement and just that ecstasy that comes with creation and all of that, that's a great motivator. And initially you get it for free and then it goes away and you have to work for it. You have to earn it. You have to pay rent on it. And this notion that motivation is going to last all the way through and keep us going is why a lot of people fail, because they quit, because they've lost their initial reason or their initial fuel. Let's say motivation's fuel and you run out and you have to refuel. And there are a lot of different ways to doing that. And it usually, for me, does not have anything to do with going back and getting the original motivation.
You bring up a good point. So a beautiful meme I also saw was this graph that I saw that was the entrepreneur's journey or small business owner's journey. And it's one of those what everybody thinks it is versus what the reality is.
Oh yeah.
And we make a lot of references to the show The Good Place, right? And Jeremy Bearimy. So as you can see, the everybody thinks meme said everybody thinks that a small business owner's journey is just this constant like up curve, but really it looks like Jeremy Bearimy's, and so that's what really a small business owner's view of motivation and success and goals and etc. And it's just this crooked line where it goes, oh, I think I'm going really great, and at the bottom, oh my god, I want to close tomorrow, I'm gonna die. It's okay, or why the fuck did they do this? And it's just this constant line. And when you talk about sometimes you just have to find that time to refuel and find that the gas again. I had to tell myself multiple times in the last several weeks. I said you have to give yourself that grace to be okay in a lull. Yes, we are 100%. Coming up on a change of seasons into fall, which we're here. I had to actually put a sweatshirt on for my walk this morning. Like, we are in it. I love autumn. Yeah. But part of me is starting to already feel sad because then it will be winter. And it's not my favorite. No, it's not my favorite. And yet, we talk about the low. Winter is so important for growing. Mm-hmm. Like, so much is happening. If we think nature, like, so much is happening underneath ground during winter. And it doesn't look like it. So it can be very frustrating in our lives when we're like, I'm not seeing any results, I'm putting in effort, nothing's happening, or there's nothing to be done. That's my least favorite, when the task is to wait. That's one of the hardest things. And we have this idea that results and success come from constant action. But that's not true at all. In fact, burnout comes from constant bears action. Hibernate for a reason. They hibernate for a reason, and everything in nature goes through these seasons, these cycles in one way or another, and one of them is downtime. So I love that you're bringing this in, having grace with that low point, or like a slow point, right? Mm-hmm. Where we're just chilling. And it doesn't seem like stuff's getting done, but it's such an important part of the process for success, for results. Those buds come in spring, sure, because of winter. You talk about seasons. I think what I love about this, I know what I love about this is that I'll tell you exactly the metaphor, the image that I face, that I beat myself up about. But I know to get myself out of that mindset, that negative mindset. So things at the agency are popping. We have some really phenomenal team members. The gears are well oiled. The team's not in burnout, but the team's in like, all right, we got a job to do, y'all, and let's do it. Mm-hmm. I get by every day going, okay, I've got these big tasks and these little ones. And it's like, you've heard the circadian rhythm of the mm-hmm. body, right? I feel like the company's circadian rhythm has been going really well. I found like myself that I'm struggling. My circadian rhythm's off, that I feel like I'm struggling to keep up with the company, which usually companies are either the CEO is like 2 steps ahead or the CEO is in lockstep with the company. I feel like I'm 2 steps behind. And I've got to be nice to myself. I've got to be really nice to myself. And I tell this to any other business owner. You've got to be nice to yourself. Because I'm sure that you probably feel that way, where you say, my team is so good, that you don't want to self-destruct them. You just got to let them keep doing what they're doing, right? Let them be on autopilot, or let them run at the mile per hour on the Autobahn, as long as they're not burning out. For me, I'm watching in the peripheral a lot now. And I'm going, or not peripheral, I'm watching them in front of me, not on the peripheral. I'm watching them in front of me, and I'm going, oh, they're doing really good. I should probably take a step back and just not be a part of this because I don't want to mess it up. That's where I'm at with the motivation, and I don't think a lot of company people can talk about that, because sometimes they're constantly in that scarcity mindset of like, everything's gonna suck or everything's gonna fall apart. And,
right, the other shoe's gonna drop.
Yeah. Like I'm not working if I'm not in a state of panic, and I'm like, no, don't do that.
No,
don't do that.
Well, I just shout out, like, thank you for sharing these things, that the motivation isn't there in the same way right now, that you feel like your team's in front of you or you're not in step. Nobody talks about that.
No.
And I understand why.
Because you don't want the team to be like, well, if she's not motivated, I'm not going to be motivated either.
Kind of, or like I think about my mom, single mom, super badass, incredible person, fantastic mom. And I know she felt she had to hold it all together. Like, I don't think I ever saw my mom cry when I was a kid. She would do that privately because she wanted us to feel safe, that she had it all handled, that she was strong and stable and like she was on top of it, which she was. But there's the human side there too that I don't think she allowed herself enough of, which was really unfair. Like, I feel sad. But she didn't have the support that she was needing. So she held it all together for us so that we wouldn't feel scared. Like, oh man, mom doesn't know what's going on, then, panic time, right? And I feel like a lot of people in leadership positions have that same sense, that they have to always look like they have it together, that they always know what's going on, they always know what the next steps are going to be, that they are just super on top of all of the things, which is understandable, but it's also not realistic. And I really hope that we are moving into a time of reality for humans and business.
I appreciate, I want to reflect back to, they feel like they have to hope, they have to feel like they have to hold it together.
Or appear that they are.
I'm going to tell you why that's really relevant, especially for those of you that are interested in actually purchasing a business. Wow, that's a really important phrase. Let me put a pin in that for a second. Appearing like you have to hold together. So for those of you that don't know, one of my ventures or one of my exciting parts of the job is looking at opportunities to grow the company that are untraditional, like mergers and acquisitions. What people don't know is that I've probably looked at, I've said more no's than I have yeses, and only one yes. We actually have absorbed a company or acquired a company that did content marketing many moons ago. There's always the appearance of looking successful. I have seen more balance sheets. Now, okay, caveat, Siarza's not perfect. So if you saw our balance sheet, you'd be like, she shouldn't be saying this shit, but like, we're not perfect. But I know immediately when there's an agency owner, I look at that balance sheet and I say, oh, they were trying to keep the company together. They lost their motivation. I know when I look at that balance sheet that they held it together for so long that they're at the point of no return and they don't know what to do, and I can see it in their numbers. And that's what a mergers and acquisition, I don't know, did you ever go through a merger and acquisition whenever you were a business owner?
No.
Okay.
I've worked within businesses that have been acquired.
Yeah.
And that's interesting.
And that's like a whole different animal of itself, right? The motivation to stay on a team after it gets acquired, painful. But in this instance, I found myself in multiple instances when I looked at this company after looking at NDAs and stuff, and I see the balance sheet and I see where these line items are of like these owners making a lot of sacrifices, painful sacrifices. I said, it's always great to be Robin Hood, but Robin Hood's not necessarily a business owner, right? There's no reason for them to be in that position. So I thought it was really fascinating when you talked about, what is a motivator and how do you do that? I'll tell you another thing, kind of going back to like how I've been feeling and how motivation plays a part in success. I think that I always used my family as my motivator. I've always used my lifestyle to a certain degree as a motivator. I've learned that belongings are not a motivator to me. I would say probably like in my early 30s, I was like, the money's great, but I don't really need to have something off of Amazon anymore. You've talked about how much you like Amazon. I don't really need to have Prime Now here and give me this in 2 days. I think now that I've said, okay, the money is good, but it doesn't need to be great. And I looked at my family and I'm like, I know I need them to survive, and I know that I need to work in order for them to survive But what's my motivation now when I feel like everything's great with my family? Or if, let's say, for example, something happens with my family that money doesn't need to be an area of focus. It needs to be more like an emotional state that needs to be our focus as a family. And going back to Janice, what was the whole point of me talking to Janice? Janice is like, look at your buckets in life. Look at your buckets in life and see what you want to start working on and what you want to start filling more. You don't fill one bucket and then you go to the next bucket and then you go to the next bucket. That's not how you accomplish things in life, right? She goes, I mean, she didn't use this metaphor, but this is the metaphor I thought of when I was talking to her. She's like, you fill one at a time, a little bit at a time. Just recenter your focus to another bucket and you'll be all right. Huh. Okay. I just don't know what that bucket looks like.
Yeah. That's a great point. And having multiple things that we are being energized by.
Oh, yeah.
Right, where we're putting our energy in, but we're getting something back from it. And having, I think I've referred to this before as like diversifying your time portfolio so that your energies and your days are going to different
so worth it.
things. Yeah, otherwise, like if it's all one, we do burn out and it just becomes like, now we're doing this. And what you were talking about before, the appearance of having it all together requires so much time and energy that now the motivation is to hide everything so you appear to be going well, that you got it, and now whatever you were actually doing before is gone because of the amount of time it takes to hide who you actually are or what is actually happening is unbelievable. I think if we really were able to take like a big view as humans, even for just our own individual lives and the amount of time we have put into people not knowing who we really are or what we're really going through, it would be mind-blowing. We would have solved every problem in all of existence and created everything possible at this point. Like I see that in my own life and I'm like, oh my gosh, like the energy I've put into that type of stuff. So I love that you always come on here and you'll share the things that other C positions won't, that you'll bring all of this stuff out. Like now to me, I go, boom, now she's just freed up time and energy to put towards things she actually cares about, where she's not having to have this appearance anymore. Then my question becomes, if you started this company, we'll just keep it here, right? This company, you started it. Why?
No, I started it because I wanted to continue to create jobs and really change the game when it came to the agency route. And in fact, filming this show made me realize where we've come, right? So at the time in 2014, we were at a point where there wasn't many digital marketing agencies. I mean, you were around that time, right?
I was in Austin.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But even before then, you're like, I remember your interview. You said, well, there's not a lot of agency jobs or marketing jobs here, specifically in digital. So you're one of the many that left. They're like, I want a better opportunity, but it's not here in New Mexico. I got tired of my friends leaving, right? And I was like, I want this here. And then I was bound by the fact that I had a custody situation that made me stay in New Mexico. So I just created the company to be a disruptor, like a total disruptor in the marketing agency. And we still are.
But why do you want to be a disruptor?
I wanted to be a disruptor because that's what created jobs. I wanted us to be different. I saw what other folks did and I said, we can do it better. And it's still my underlying motivation. Not having to figure out how to get it done or finding the resources on how to answer that question, I think was part of the thrill. Always part of the thrill. Like, how do I get to 1 million? I remember like thinking that, how do you get to 1 million in gross sales? That doesn't mean that you have 1 million in the bank.
Sure.
I was like, how do you get there? And I figured it out. We're almost there. It's like, okay, well, we will be there by the end of this year because the forecast said so. Almost 9 years ago, I didn't even know how to put a damn forecast or a budget together. I put a budget together, but it was really sad. It was like a sad panda of a budget. But then, I looked at that and I go, oh, okay. This is how you do it. This is how you create a budget. You put a forecast and now I'm going, okay, how do I put a department budget together? Perfect example. Justin's going to have his own first department budget ever. I know how to do it. Nice. I might not do it right the first time. It might fail a couple times, but at least I know how to figure it out.
That's part of it.
Yeah.
One of our core values at Siarza that you brought in, of course, is community. And you very genuinely have a heart for community and being in service to the community.
I don't even think we do enough.
I agree.
Really
we could do more. But you as a
enough.
person, I mean, I experienced this when I was at the summit on Saturday, how many people you've impacted in this state. In all kinds of different ways, in all kinds of different industries.
I paid them all to talk to you.
Girl,
I
will get on that payroll. I talk about you all the time.
So
just let me know where to sign up for that. Thanks. But your devotion to community has legs. It's walking around out in this city. People see it.
And they're all 5 foot tall and look Asian, just like me.
They do not. There was only one Asian dude, actually, and we did talk about the work that you have done for Asians in the state.
Oh, yeah, thanks.
But why do you care about Albuquerque and New Mexico and the business owners in this community?
I care because I really love this area. I love New Mexico, right? I even love Eastern New Mexico. Okay.
Do you hear that, Clovis?
I know. I really do. I appreciate you kind of asking these questions because it makes me think. I've had even thoughts of, oh, what if we move and the company expands in a different city? That would be really rad. I don't know if I want to start over again. I really don't. Actually, no, I don't want to start over again. Just plain and simple, right?
Yeah.
I don't want to be abandoned from the people that I care about. Even now, I felt bad. I was supposed to go to some of that fun that you were talking about. So the summit that you were talking about, I didn't go. Good thing I didn't go because of my health concerns that happened. But I didn't go, and I felt a missing void of, well, I want to interact with people I haven't seen in a long time. And I want to talk to the folks that used to party with me at the press club, or we used to hang out back in the day. Like it would be an honor to see these people again. So I guess going back to your question, what are the things that motivate me to grow the company? Oh, sorry, your question was,
why do you care so much about these people?
Yeah, why do I care about so much these people? Because I really care about the quality of life to improve for a lot of folks. And as a small business owner, whenever you have to cut into your net profit, so that way there's more businesses, or there's more people that can receive livable wages, as hard as a difficult challenge that is, I'm glad I did it.
Why?
Because the greatest joy for me at first was one of the greatest joys for me was when somebody asked for time off so they can have their baby. And it actually wasn't Justin, right? Justin's the second Siarza kid. Yeah. His kid is the third Siarza kid, right? A kid that was born. Well,
I was like, one was illegitimate, and we don't talk about that one. We do pay child support.
Sorry,
don't worry.
Stacey. No. The third kid that was born where somebody had to take parental leave, and the first one was like, oh shit, we don't know. We didn't even have a parental leave. We didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
And when that had happened, it was such a joy because they knew that they could step away from the company and step away for a minute. I remember one of the other ones was somebody bought their first car under their paycheck, and I said, oh, thank God. So, yeah, it's motivating for me whenever – now, I guess there's a difference, right? It brings me joy when I hear when a staff member says, hey, I purchased my first car. Great, kick ass, congratulations, this is huge. Or I'm about to get married, I'm about to do this. I'm like, you found the stability in your life to make that decision, and I'm glad that the job was one of them. Because people sometimes don't get married because they can't afford it. They can't afford to be without it, or they get forced into marriages because they're like, well, the double income. There's a lot of factors, right? When somebody makes a big life decision and it's because the job is stable enough to support it, that makes me feel so good. That's not always motivating, though.
Well, and let me tell you why I think that is. And I'm smirking over here because I'm like, you're going to hate the thing that I'm about to say.
No.
But let it happen. You talk about the job making that possible. Or the work. And yeah, we are a team. And a lot has happened. A lot of people have been support along the way. That's true. Credit where credit's due. But I don't see you making the connection that someone got to take several weeks off multiple people have, so that they could spend time with their newborn baby and bond, because you created a company and work hard that makes enough money that can pay them to go do that. I'm sorry, but this is all because of you, your efforts that you have put in consistently over time. And I know not alone, but you actually pay. There are many of us who pay our bills every month because of you. Yeah, there are people out in the community whose businesses have grown because of you, who are supporting their families because of you. So I'm going to invite you to make that a little more personal and give yourself the credit. You talk about being nice to yourself, but celebrate it as well. Like, this is really fucking cool that there are people, myself included, who get to be out in the world in a safe and stable way because of your vision, your dedication, your efforts that you've put in, your sacrifice, your risk, your boldness. That's really fucking cool.
I appreciate that. And I'm going to say what you just told me, how I heard it. I need to celebrate the fact that I made this company because it's fucking cool. And the contributions that I've made in every individual's life. I appreciate that. I don't hear that often.
And you don't receive it often. You are not a manager. You're not a boss. You're a leader. So when amazing things happen, you give it to the team. When your efforts come to fruition on a win, you pass it off to the people around you, which is what leaders do.
It's funny.
When shit goes wrong, you take that ownership for yourself. But when we're talking about motivation, you allow other people a chance to be in the world as themselves in bold and beautiful ways and to thrive. You give us that chance. If that's not a cool motivating factor.
Can you see how uncomfortable?
Yeah, you are. You're like shrinking and like your eyes are closed. And I'm like, but you're like, you've lost your motivation. Look around. You see, you're filled with joy when you walk in the office.
I do. Yeah.
Yeah. Like,
look around. Okay.
Look around. And not in a prideful way, but be like, oh, shit, what will we look like 9 years down the line if I keep this awesome going? If I look for what's next in me, where are we going to be in this time next year when we're celebrating our 10-year anniversary? Where are we going to be 10 years down the line? Who will you have impacted? What lives will you have helped build? I'm sorry, but that's freaking cool.
Yeah, it is. It is really fucking cool. Every year we go through strategic planning, and we go through strategic planning. We always looked at 5-year goals. What's going to happen 5 years down the line? And some business owners don't, which baffles me. Some business owners don't actually put pro formas together. And a pro forma is a model or forecasting what the next 10, 5, 10, sometimes 3 little or long time frame of what your finances are going to look like as a business so you can move forward, right? And I love that exercise because it looks at the viability of an organization over time. I know how to get there. I hear you. I appreciate the episode of how this has become like, look, Kristelle, there's a lot of motivating factors that are around you. And they are. They really, really are. I think what has always motivated me with Siarza is the challenge. Spencer hit it on the head a couple days ago. Because of course I talked to him about this. I was like, I lost my motivation. He's like, because you're not challenged anymore. And I said, I mean, yeah, I am.
You're kind of challenging me right now.
No. And I said, no. He goes, I think you are just looking for the next challenge to overcome because you feel like you've done it all. And you haven't really found the next hurdle to overcome. There was a time where the hurdle I was most afraid of was a catastrophic financial event that was going to be detrimental to businesses. And for us, that was COVID. So once March 17th happened, thank God I went through the activity of mindfulness or knew how to like meditate, because I looked outside the window and I was like, yeah, we're done. Our clients are going to go ahead and start canceling. It's going to be a great weekend. I'm going to go wash my car. It's like, it was fun,
And then maybe park it in the garage and leave it running.
Yeah. No, not even that bad. I was just like, I'm going to enjoy what I have, but it's going to get pretty bad here.
Yeah.
And once we overcame that challenges, again, motivation, you know what steps you have to take.
Mm-hmm.
You know what you need to do to get it done. You divvy it out to your teams to get it done. And then, so when it all happened, I was like, oh, it's not that bad like I thought. So
you actually grew.
And we actually grew.
During COVID, which again, very cool.
difficult.
Very difficult, very cool.
So yeah, no, I feel that the motivation is actually really stemming from the fact that there is not another challenge. I love this team. I love this company. I'm not going to go sell it. I'm not going to go close the doors because I'm not motivated anymore.
Sure.
It's definitely not it. But I definitely feel that the next challenge within Siarza is going to be the challenge that I'm like, all right, I'm ready to do it.
That for me is a double-edged sword. Well, one, like the why. That's a big part for me for my motivation. I'll lose the what. I'm like, the what I don't care about anymore. So I always come back to my why. Like, why did I want to do this in the first place? That way I don't get stuck too much in the day-to-day what of it all.
Yeah.
But the double-edged sword for me is like, I too love a challenge. Give me a fight and I'm going to step up. Like, it's what I'm used to. Mm-hmm. It's what I'm comfortable with. We talked last time about grieving because success requires a death of the known, moving into the unknown. And unknown for me is thriving. I don't have a consistent practice of thriving. That's a new part of life for me. And I'm not comfortable with it because it's different. It's new. I'm used to always having that next challenge and figuring it out. So much so that I caught myself creating challenges in order to overcome them because that's my sense of motivation. And so I was creating problems where problems did not need to be simply because it's my norm.
My God, I can't tell you how that's like a big pet peeve of mine.
Yeah. And I wasn't doing it. I just unconsciously was either seeking them out, creating them, making little things into bigger things so that I felt like I was doing something and I felt like I was comfortable. And
you
just
didn't need to do it.
I didn't need to do it.
Yeah.
And just sitting in that winter we talked about is part of it. Or how we kind of came to be with this episode. I looked at the notes and it was like the on-track voicemail.
I started reading it off. I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah. So my best friend, there was like this week where every time he checked in with me, he was like, oh, I'm fine. Work's fine. The relationship's fine. It's fine. It's fine. And I was like, when is this motherfucker going to realize he ain't fine? Like nothing is fine about this scenario. And he kept saying, I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm fine. And finally he goes, by the way, Jace, when I say I'm fine, I'm not actually fine. And I'm like, oh, honey, I'm aware of that. Like, yeah.
Why do you think I've been trying to check up on you?
Yeah. And I'm like, I know you're not fine. And what we came up with instead was I'm on track. Because what he was saying is everything is going as it is intended to go. He's putting in the efforts where they need to be. Things are in motion. It's kind of like you said, like there's nothing to be doing, but everything's already rocking. Like you've set it on autopilot and you've set everything up so it could work that way. And now it is. And there's not a lot of like really strong ecstatic life feeling in that. But it also didn't mean that anything was going wrong. It's just that component of when we have a goal and we haven't met it yet and we're not starting it and there's not the challenges of it, we're actually just on track towards the thing we set out to do.
Yep.
And it's not sexy and it's not exciting
Sometimes
necessarily.
it's harder than what you anticipated.
Yeah, but that even
takes
brings
longer.
like energy with it, you know? And so it's like just like the I'm fine was like instead now we say I'm on track, which means I have nothing cool to report. There's nothing exciting going on, and it's in alignment with the plan I set out for myself.
Yeah. It's progressing.
It's progressing. Yeah,
It's
like
moving forward.
we're rocking, we're going, like nothing to check in, but I think having that conversation and changing our language around success is important so we recognize that that's part of it too. The just being on track towards something is part of the process, and that it's okay to just be in that, and that maybe doesn't feel very motivating or energizing.
Well, and we talk about people a lot on the podcast to kind of shift for a minute. Like you talked about your friend and how you guys communicate. And I worry a lot about C-levels and leaders that feel like they're alone, right? The common phrase, it's really lonely at the top.
That's
or
right.
It's better for me to be at the top because it's what I wanted to be. it can be very ugly whenever you're by yourself at the top, or you realize, what did it take to get there at the first place? Or what was that thing from Thanos where he said, what did you have to take to or what did you sacrifice in order to get here? And he's like, everything, right? And I think that success, that's when it's like, is it really success, or is it just really ultimate failure in a different form, right?
Ooh, depending on success becomes our ultimate failure.
Yeah.
Love it. New episode idea.
Okay, so I've been on a Marvel kick lately, and Justin, you're gonna have to help me out with this.
It's like lately, do you mean like the last few years? Yeah.
Yeah, like all the time. And so I watched Captain America, or Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I watched that one. But I still refer back to Endgame when Thanos was like in the water by himself, and he asked the question, what did it take to get here? People forget the halo effect of people when it comes to motivation. Same thing here.
What does that mean?
Same thing here. I'm going to use the metaphor of me walking in the door, and I get really motivated whenever I see people here. It's in fact in our About Us video that I'm walking into the doors of the office by myself, because at the end of the day, it's the people. I even said, Justin, the only thing's missing from this video is the people. Even if they're not going to be here down the road, it's the people. The halo effect of people to me means motivation is when you can celebrate with people, challenge your motivation with people, have the people tell you about your successes and where you've come and where you've been, just like what you did. And I, again, greatly appreciate it, but you're part of the halo effect of motivation, right? You can't really be motivated if you're not around the people that motivate you. And I say that because I've been at home working alone because I want to be more productive. Or I say that I'm more productive, and Spencer's like, you're not more productive because I'm always distracting you. That's what he says. I've been struggling with my motivation because I haven't been around you guys a lot lately. Or I've been struggling with my motivation for other projects because our teams left with ABC because we ran out of funding. I struggle with motivation whenever I don't have the people I need around me, the halo of people around me. And that's where I even struggle with wanting to accomplish more because I don't get to see people, or I'm like, oh, it's too hard for me to go to like a networking event because it's just across town. So I'm just going to go home, and it's not going to affect our bottom line or anything like that. But the people play an important part of motivation. You've said it all, even with your friend, right? If you don't check in with somebody to see how they're doing, then what's the point? What's the point?
I am with you 1,000%. The thing, and for me, it's ideas as well. Like when I think of the life I want to live, maybe I don't have that life just yet, but I hold a really strong vision of what I want that to be. And then my question is, who do I need to become to live that life? And what can I be doing today to do that? So from my motivation,
what is it gonna take to be on a boat with your dogs for the rest of your life? Do you ask yourself that all the time?
I don't want to be on a boat for the rest of my life. No, I never asked that.
No, okay. What is your motivation? What does that image look like for you?
It has changed a lot over the years.
Yeah.
And I'm in an interesting place. So I'm leading a self-mastery intensive right now, a 12-week program. And our first week was around obstacles. And I said, come ready to talk about the things you think are blocking you from being the person you want to be, living the life you want to live. Mm-hmm. So if I say it, I have to do it. That's my rule. It's a very stupid integrity thing I set up initially.
No. If I task somebody a job, I have to make sure I want to do it first.
Well, yeah. Or I'm like, if I
you don't want to task somebody. You don't want to tell somebody to do something you don't want to do. I get it.
Well, Anyway, If I talk it, I walk it. That's my rule. So I started looking at like, what are my obstacles? And I looked at my life right now, and I thought, well, this isn't the life that I want to be living. And I almost went into panic mode. And then, whoa. Pause down, Jace. I set out last fall with my priorities being stability and structure, not sexy. And I've lived as a nomad for the last few years, and I've moved a lot, and I've lived a lot of different styles of life in my time. And even before that, I've kind of been an unconventional person in general. And so I'm like, okay, cool. We know how to do that. We know what comes with that. It's a lot of starting over. And I'm really at a place where I want to not just be going, here, 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 but actually have a foundation I can build up from. And that requires staying in the same place. Stability and structure, or as my friend calls it, sticking power. Like I need to practice that.
That's a good term, yeah.
Yeah, and so I set out with the goal to build stability and structure into my life. And so when I had that panic moment of like, oh, this isn't what it's not exciting. And so I was like, this is literally
you got to give yourself that grace.
Well, it's like, this is what you set out to do. And guess what my life is? Stable. What do I have? Structure. Who's around me? People that are really good at being adults. All of a sudden, I'm like, how am I surrounded by so many people who are great at adulting? Like, I got all these grown-ups around me now.
I'm sorry. I'm really like a teenage girl most of the time.
I'm like, yes, a mix of so many things. And some of that is a younger space. My therapist used the word recently that I have a high level of disinhibition. And I just burst into laughter.
What?
She says, you have a really high level of openness, which I'm like, thank you very much. I worked hard for that. It's a real stupid trait. I don't recommend it. And disinhibition. And I was like, tell me more. Like, love this phrase. And it's true. Because I'm like, oh, I'll try that. Oh, I'll do that. Oh, I've never done that before. Oh, I've never gone over there. Sure. Like, I'm like a yes to life, which is an awesome quality, but also it means I don't actually move towards what I want. So things have shifted, and as I've moved into more of that safety, stability, structure.
Could you see the hamster going?
Yeah, I was like, wait, I hope something's gonna come
process that.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going. Okay, that's what the hamster's doing.
Where like she was talking about, like if somebody were to be on like a second date, and that person would be like, hey, for our third date, do you want to go to Brazil? The healthy response is, no, you're a stranger. I don't know you. Where I was going, oh yeah, I'd fucking do that. And she's like, disinhibition. It's like, oh, I see what you mean here. Because I was like, it's a new experience. Sure, I'll do that. Yeah. So anyway, my vision for my life has shifted where it was once really grand. And then I recognized that if I want to do any of that, I'm going to have to be the person that's able to do that. That's able to have sticking power and be around and actually follow through with things and have that stability and whatnot. So though I would say I live a much smaller life right now than I would have agreed to a few years ago, like I'm on track for what I want to do. And for me in that, and especially having more time in one place, developing different relationships, having that community and all of that, I've really realized for me, I want to participate in people becoming their true selves and to be really psyched about who that is. It's the silent revolution. Like actually liking who you are is a game changer. Yeah. It's a total game changer. And then moving through the world as a person who really enjoys who they are and they're not having to try to indirectly meet their needs from all of these ways that are not effective. Those are some pretty powerful fucking people. Yeah. And I really think we all are essential in our own ways. And when we lose that, either because people legit die, like kill themselves, or just live these lives where they're not in their actual selves, we all miss out. And so my motivation, I just want to like wrap the whole wide world up and make sure everybody knows that they're loved and lovable and help them get to that place themselves.
Yeah. You're a nurturer, right?
I wouldn't have agreed with that a while back, but like, yeah, it just looks different. Like I'm not maternal, but I realize like I just want to be everybody's auntie. Yeah. Like I want to be Auntie Jace to everybody in the whole wide world.
I love aunties. Yes.
Yeah.
No, that makes sense.
I'm a nurturer in an auntie sense.
Yeah.
But,
The last point I'll make before we wrap up the podcast, I think, talking about motivation, everybody, especially for us type A's, goal setters, etc., even though it's been really uncomfortable to lose this motivation that I usually have, or I think it was part of my brand of Kristelle Siarza Moon, if you will, is everybody says, oh, she's a goal setter and she goes after whatever goal that she wants to achieve. I don't feel that I have a goal. And I realized it while I was sitting on a finance meeting with Ed, and I said, oh, well, that's it. And he goes, what do you mean that's it? I said, oh, sorry. He was talking about finance managers, and he was talking about how financial managers only work with you if you have a certain financial goal that you want to achieve. Mm-hmm. And I said, oh, that's it. I don't have any goals anymore. It was a goal to get married. like I remember.
Check.
I mean, it didn't need to be a goal.
Sure.
I wanted it to be a goal.
But now you've done it.
Yeah. And I had this checklist of things I wanted to do by certain times in my life. I wrote it down for a guy that I was dating, and I kept it. And I'm very fucking glad I kept it, because I went back and I said, I'm going to go back to it tonight now that I think about it.
Yeah,
and
I was just going to say that.
Yeah, it's a great way. So like it was 1 year, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, right? And I said I wanted to own a house. I wanted to be married. I wanted to have a company, because at the time I didn't. I wanted to be in like service to other people, and I wanted to have another animal and maybe have another kid, which unfortunately my health doesn't allow for me to have that. And it's like looking at it and I'm like, oh, I don't have a goal anymore. Or thinking about it, like I was talking to Ed, I was like, oh, I don't have a goal like most couples do, which is why they go to financial planners in the first place. They want to have a goal, they want to achieve it, and they're asking the financial planner how to achieve that goal. Me, I'm like, no, I'm actually okay with the fact that I don't have a goal anymore.
Yeah.
I'm wandering life. I'm meandering life, like.
Yeah, you can meander life.
Yeah, I can meander.
I love a good
life.
meander.
Yeah, and that's what I'm doing right now. And while it's uncomfortable, I'm not unhappy. That's why this is so new for me. And by not having a goal, I'm not motivated to see where else things go. But the company has goals, and I'll help the company get there.
Obviously.
But that's why I think that's where I'm at. And I don't think all of us have enough time to reflect on what actually puts us where we want to be. It's kind of fascinating. I don't know.
And can we be comfortable when we are no longer operating within the identity we set up for ourselves when we've outgrown it?
Yeah.
And now the question, you don't have a set goal you're working towards, so you're not in that striving action, which you're used to. And then the question becomes, do you still feel and recognize your worth and value even in that? Which for you, I know you do, but it's something we always have to ask ourselves. And I know we're going to talk about identity on an upcoming episode and the way that plays into success. But it sounds like you've accomplished the things you set out to accomplish. The identity that you had set for yourself is done, and now it's time to allow a new version to come forth. Yeah, and what will that be?
Like the moon and the stars.
Indeed. Yeah. And let that be revealed, and we don't have to hang on to what was, because it's already part of you now. Yeah. Now who you are gets to go into the next chapter, which is scary and uncomfortable and super awesome.
And it's super
and
awesome.
I'm glad you're going to do it on camera with us. Yay! Right here on Stories, Success, and Stuff.
Yeah, no, I was going to say it's here's our Powder Puff Girl moment. We just had it. And I'm very grateful for you to be on the podcast with me. And thanks to a ton of our listeners for constantly telling us how we're doing, how blunt we are, And always my thanks to Justin for producing this awesome podcast. That's going to do it for us. If you missed an episode in the past, go to our Spotify channel, go to BuzzSprout, go to our YouTube channel,
go to our website,
go to
even
our
better.
website with our entire collection of stories, success, and stuff. And don't forget to subscribe and follow us on your favorite social media channel. You can find out about what we do at Siarza.com. And most importantly, always, thanks to our moms. Thanks to our moms for always listening to this. And we're so grateful. Our next episode topic will be identity. It will be identity. I just set the agenda for the next topic. And most importantly, thanks for being with us, and we'll see you soon.